And within the past week, I've been listening to the MMG Self-Made albums, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Combine that with the solo albums they dropped during that time period. Combine that with the collabs and features they had, plus that classic MMG tagline. I had to remember, like, Ross did probably have one of the best labels in that time period. Top of the Top, episode 289, Stash House Podcast. Your boy Tyler checking in. First time listeners, thank y'all for tuning in. If you tune in weekly, salute, or if there's just an episode, saw some topics you may want to hear about, thank you for tuning in as well. Podcasts available on all podcast streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Also, like this video as well. Also, subscribe to your preferred audio platform. Tell a friend, tell another friend, check out this show. All love is greatly, greatly appreciated. Hope everyone had a safe week, safe weekend. Do the same this upcoming week. This week episode, another spotlight episode. This time, I want to take a look back on the run of MMG, Maybach Music Group, Rick Ross, Wale, Meek Mill, Peel, Rocky Fresh, Stolly, Gunplay, French Montana, Tidra Moses, the whole crew from MMG in the early 2010s. I want to say 2010 to about 2013. Really, I'll say up until the Meek Mill and Drake beef happened, and that was, 2015, I feel. So I want to say the early 2010 run of MMG with the self-made projects, the solo projects, the features, the collabs they were doing at that time. Just a look back at the legacy of MMG and how Ross might have had the best label at the time as well. But before I get to that, I do want to give some shout-outs. Over the weekend, Saturday night, I attended the Blaq On Broadway 2 event in Columbus, Georgia at the River Center. Showcase of talent in the area. I enjoyed myself. One, it was my first time ever going to the River Center. If you're not familiar, the River Center, for the most part, they have plays, concerts. I believe the Miss Georgia event that happens at the River Center, different events in general. But I want to say the Blaq On Broadway 2 event, and he had one a few years ago. I want to say those are maybe the only 2 hip-hop concerts ever held at the River Center. Please, somebody fact check me. But I do remember when he did the first Blaq On Broadway a few years ago, that was the first hip-hop event at the River Center. Please fact check, but I want to say that's facts. So shout out to C Black, his whole crew. Local talent that was there, Buddy Pacino, Mark Hall, D Keezy, a.k.a. DK, which I love to see D Keezy, a.k.a. DK. Like, he was one of the guys growing up in the area who was coming out of Columbus, rapping, and he was like, okay, this guy can get put on. And like I said, we right there near Atlanta as well, Columbus, Phoenix City area. So D Keezy was always the one I saw at an early age. Like, he came to my homegirl Sweet 16 party back in the day, and we was like, you would have thought, like I say, fucking Gucci Mane or somebody walked in. He had the Go Banana song, the Outer Space. My personal favorite mixtape of the Tri-City area is D Keezy's IDK mixtape, 4th of July, in the Apartments, King Kong, like that era. And when he dropped that mixtape, it just felt so current with what was going on in the overall landscape of Southern hip-hop. So shout out to DK, Big D, Bohangen, 100, Keith Sinatra, C Black, Jones Geach, Real 706. It was some more people. I didn't get their name. I know one guy, he came, I can't remember his name, but I know he had Tim's on. Shout out to him. Shout out to the bartenders. Like I said, that was my first time at the River Center. I didn't know they was giving up like that at the bar. Shout out to the bartenders. And just moving forward, I just want to like get out and do things in the community outside of food trucks. You know what I'm saying? I'll pop out. Anything food related, I'm bound to check it out. But in terms of just, different content creators, different events going on, why not listen to some good music at the same time? So overall, dope event. And for the River Center, like I said, I didn't know they was giving up like that. So when they have these different plays, these Temptations and Wizard of Oz plays come back to the city, I might make it a point to try to check them out as well. So once again, shout out to C Blaq, shout out to the whole lineup you had, shout out to the band, the live bands that was there, the DJs that held it down. The women was out there looking great. Fellas put that shit on as well. Overall, great night. Like I said, that was this past Saturday. So once again, want to shout out everybody who was in attendance for Blaq On Broadway too. And now let's get to this new episode, man. Let's talk about Maybach Music Group. Now, to start this conversation off about MMG, I remember when Ross made the announcement, I want to say at the time it was just Wale and Meek, and I think Peel as well in that first announcement. And, of course, Ross was already established, Triller album, Deeper Than Rap. I can't remember if Teflon Don came out before or after the MMG announcement, but Ross, of course, was already established. Wale, like I talked about him a few weeks ago, he was known as the poetic guy in the rap scene at the time. Remember he had the song with Lady Gaga when he first came on the scene, but by the time he was announced with MMG, I was like, okay, I heard the mixtapes. I never really caught his vibe to go alongside Rick Ross' vibe, so that was interesting. And Meek Mill, who I didn't hear before until he got with MMG. Meek Mill was a guy I did not hear about him until like I'm a Boss, Tupac Back. I wasn't up on his mixtapes like that, so when he came, I instantly heard Tupac Back, and I was like, okay, I see what his style on with this Tupac Back record, the Like a Boss record. He does go along with Rick Ross a lot more than Wale. So Wale was kind of the odd man, but at the same time, we saw the vision because you can't have everybody in the same clique sounding the same. So Wale would carve his own lane out, like I said, with the women records. That separated him from Meek Mill. Meek had the streets, Wale had the mainstream, the women, and Ross could teeter-totter with both. And then you had Peel from Atlanta, and I heard of him through different features. I want to say Gucci Mane, and I want to say like Trouble and Alley Boy. I think that's who I heard about Peel from. So I was like, okay, Ross, he got guys from Philly, Meek. He got a guy from D.C., Wale. And he got a guy from Atlanta in Peel. So I found that very interesting early on. And then when we get to what MMG did throughout 2010 to 2013, got to start with the Self-Made albums, in my opinion. Self-Made 1 is a very, very solid album. Shout out to Tidra Moses. She's been on my timeline a lot lately, from Instagram to TikTok. I want to say within the past year and a half. She kind of reminds you of Felicia Rashad, and I remember hearing her on a K-Tronada song, and that's how I was first introduced to her, not realizing it was the same woman from the Self-Made Volume 1 album. She's singing all along that album. I'm not sure if she was signed to Ross at the time, but I totally forgot Tidra Moses was heavy on that Self-Made 1 album. The Pandemonium record, like I said, it had the Wale song with Jeremiah, That Way. It had the Meek Mill, I'm a Boss. And within the past week, I've been listening to the MMG Self-Made albums, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Combine that with the solo albums they dropped during that time period. Combine that with the collabs and features they had, plus that classic MMG tagline. I had to remember, like, Ross did probably have one of the best labels in that time period. Like, they were just hitting on all cylinders, and then you add the DJ Khaled collabs, then the Drake collabs coming along, the Wiz and Currency. Like, they was tapping into, like, a lot of sides of hip-hop during that time period. If you want to say, outside of maybe Gucci Mane, it seemed like everybody got along with each other. Because, of course, Gucci Mane, he did the classic Twitter rant and all that. But in terms of, like, the mainstream, what Ross built with MMG, then you tag that along with, like, Young Money, it was just a great all-around era. Then French Montana came in the mix, and he brought all his collabs and features with him. That was a real dynamic time, and it couldn't happen at a better time for Ross because Bron was in Miami. You had the big three in Miami, Bosh, Wade, and LeBron. So you'll see Miami versus Boston or Miami versus New York in South Beach on a Sunday, and you will see Rick Ross and MMG sitting sideline. You'll see Wayne, Khaled sitting sideline. So it just all came together very well in the early 2010s, in my opinion, with Maybach Music Group. Like I said, Volume 1 was great. Volume 2 is probably my favorite. Volume 2 is my favorite. When that dropped, I want to say 2012, if I'm not mistaken. It was in my rotation that whole year. It just had summer records. It had fall, winter records on it as well. They had the Power Circle, the intro, Black Magic, Meat Mill, the Zenith, Wale, Stolly, Fountain of Youth with Nipsey Hussle, MIA, Omarion. He signed Omarion to Maybach Music Group. And everybody was like, what the hell is Omarion doing with MMG? Goes back to what I said with Wale. You need people on the roster that sound different. I think that's what's missing nowadays. Yes, I love Griselda posse cuts, but Griselda, they don't. Even Armani Caesar is a rapper, and she's the woman of the group. You know what I'm saying? But Maybach Music Group, it's just different people, different vibes all around. And yes, some people didn't get their full spotlight. Stolly, Rocky Fresh. I still think a lot of people wait on the Gunplay album. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people forget the potential Gunplay had in his career as well. So it didn't pan out for everybody, but the self-made albums, everybody showcased their ability. Stolly on Fountain of Youth, he showcased his ability. Omarion, yeah, we knew he can do with B2K, but that MIA record with Rick Ross, the God Forgives I Don't, which is probably my favorite Rick Ross album, by the way. God Forgives I Don't. The Touching You record with Usher. The record with Omarion. The Dice Pineapple. So Sophisticated. The Pirates. The 16 Ain't Enough. That Rick Ross, God Forgives I Don't, is a very, very good album. I know we talk about Teflon Don and Deeper Than Rap a lot with Rick Ross catalog, but that God Forgives I Don't is not to be slept on. So just everything Ross built up until like Volume 2, it just made sense. It made sense. And like I said, you got the other collabs on the Khaled's, on the Drake records as well. Self-Made 3, I know they had Black Grammys with J. Cole. That was dope as well. But at the same time, by the time Self-Made 3 came, it was like, okay, clearly Meek is, you know what I'm saying, going crazy. Clearly Wale is going crazy. And it just felt like Ross couldn't tap all the way into the Stollies of the group, to the Rocky Freshes of the group. Even though they were on Self-Made 3, it slowly but surely we started to see cracks. You know what I'm saying? But eventually after that, when like I said, like the Meat Mill and the Drake situation happened, it put a lot of people in a sticky situation because it's like, damn, we know y'all collab on records together. We know Ross and Drake collab on records together. We know Wale is somewhere in the midst. And it just all just discombobulated, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? What was that Meat Mill album that started all that with Rico on it? With the Dreams Worth More Than Money, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that's when, you know, we started to see the cracks. And I think it was a Wale feature on the Rick Ross Meat Mill album that came out not too long ago. But now the question is, will we ever get a Self-Made 4? Who is still MMG at all? Was Fat Trail, he can't stay out of jail. I think Stolly out of his deal, Rocky Fresh out of his deal. Like I said, I never knew if Tidra Moses was signed or not. But if Ross was to ever do a Self-Made 4, I would say, bro, just reach out to Meek, reach out to Wale, Tidra Moses, Peel, bring the originals back. You know what I'm saying? You can still do that sound. That's one thing I don't understand. Like, when that sound was in, that Ross, that lavish lifestyle production that MMG came with, even on Bag of Money with T-Pain, it sounds like some shit the women want to get up, put some shit on, look in the mirror, take 2 hours to get ready to go somewhere. Like, it was that lavish lifestyle, that South Beach vibe at the time that correlated so well with Ross because we were seeing Miami so much on television because of the heat. So it just all made sense. I can't remember a better, and I know I go back to this blog era, 2010 era a lot, but it was just the lifestyle of hip-hop just seemed so real at the time. Like, what Gucci was doing made sense still because you see Gucci with Migos and Young Scooter, the Dolphs, Pee Wee Longway, like these guys from the real trenches of the South. Young Thug at the time, at the same time. And then over here, you got Wiz and Currency holding it down for the smokers. You got Burner introducing cookies during that time period. So the stoner world getting their taste. You got the lavish style over here with Ross and MMG. You got Drake and Khaled and everybody making these damn near universal loving songs at the time. You got Mac Miller who bouncing around and he's creating his own wave, introducing us to the Vince Staples, Earl Sweatshirt, Odd Future. They doing their thing. I felt like all around the board at that early 2010, everybody was catching their stride at the perfect time. And it made sense because these artists would see each other. They doing these shows. It's not like now with Rolling Loud, a bunch of artists together. It was like back then, it was like, oh, you just so happen to bump into bruh and y'all chopping it up and you're like, later tonight went to the studio and whoop-de-whoop. So that feeling, because I was thinking about, that's why I came up with this episode. I was just thinking about, damn, when did it seem like everything just kind of separated in hip-hop? Because there was a time where we had the posse cuts. Once again, I am a firm believer a lot of these artists are not doing posse cuts because their egos are too big. They don't want to get overshadowed, and that's why they don't do posse cuts. Meanwhile, you go back and you listen to Jadakiss and Styles P interviews, two guys who stayed doing posse cuts back in the day. It's just a simple art of competition. No, we're not rewriting our rhymes. We going there with the best rhyme we got with the mindset of, I'm going to kill this person on it. I'm not going to diss them or nothing like that, but I'm coming with the better bars. Like Ross was doing those, what was the Maybach Music song? We had like T.I., Jadakiss, Wayne, Erykah Badu on the hook type songs, Kanye West. Like, bring that back, man. I don't know if the Clips go have one on their album or not, but I would love to hear a good posse record this summer. You know what I'm saying? A good one. Not just people on there jibber-jabbing. Like a good one. So, yeah, man, I was just thinking, like I said, over the past week, I have been listening to the self-made albums, and it just put me in that vibe like, damn, when Ross probably had the best label at the time. It was hard to deny. You had MMG going crazy. You had Young Money going crazy. ASAP was doing their thing. Wiz was building up Taylor Gang, him and Currency. Basically, Taylor Gang, Jet Life. Who else was going crazy? Group-wise. Pro Era, Joey Badass, they was bubbling crazy. QC wasn't a thing yet at this time that I'm thinking about. QC was not a thing. Future free bands, it was really him, Rocco, and Scooter. Gucci was building Brick Squad up again, I want to say. But MMG, Young Money, they probably had the game in the headlock at this time period. Good music. I cannot forget about, good music. Kanye, Pusha, Sean. I think 2 Chainz was affiliated. Sci-Hi the Prince. Good music was holding it down, too. I cannot forget good music. Yep. So, overall, man, I just want to come in here real quick. I know it's been a busy summer, busy week. It's hot as hell outside. Just want to come in, chop game real quick about MMG. So, this has been episode 289 Stash House Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you guys go out, have a great work week, a great school week. If you're taking summer classes, that is, salute, get that summer credit. Everybody out there, man, enjoying this summer heat. If you're grilling, at the pool, just family vacations, solo vacations, friend vacations, enjoy yourselves. Be mindful of y'all surroundings. I got a birthday coming up in about a month, so I'm getting things ready for that. So I'm just laying low at the moment. But like I said, shout out to everybody who attended the Blaq On Broadway 2 event over the weekend. I am hopping out, getting active a little bit, trying to get this content off. Different content coming, YouTube, TikTok, all that good stuff. Be sure to follow Stash House Pod on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff, man. All that good stuff. Keep me in your prayers. I'll do the same for y'all. Salute.